introduction and now the band. We're here with the mighty Steve Austin. Uh, Steve, thank you again for your time today. I greatly appreciate it. So, I guess we're talking about the country album you just released, which is a fucking ripper, dude. Uh, Marked Cards and Loaded Dice. It just came out Friday, didn't it?
Yeah, it dropped on Friday.
Yeah. Can't wait to get my pre-order. Come on, pre-order.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
And by the way, thanks so much for having me on here, man. I totally enjoy hanging out with you when we come through town. And so this is an awesome thing. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, I think, the last time we were talking about, or Reagan had made mention, like one of the things he and I connected on was today is the day. And we've been friends for 20, 25 or 26 years now.
Yeah.
So, we're longtime fans, obviously. And we love helping you, coming through and putting on shows and feeding you guys and
Oh yeah, man. We've had some really, really killer times with y'all down there.
hell yeah. So like let me ask you about marked cards and loaded dice. Obviously, I think a lot of us, our parents were big like country people. My dad was, right? Merle Haggard, Waylon Jennings, and Willie and Johnny and all the people. Seems like that was your introduction as well through your parents.
Yeah, it really was. They had a big 8-track tape collection. And it was filled with all the greats: George Jones, Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, Johnny Cash, Hank Sr. And we lived out in the country and raised horses, and like that was pretty much the only music that I'd ever heard all the way up to around 13 years old.
Wow. And then so going from what was your introduction into like the heavier side of music?
Well, that's funny because then at 13 years old, a buddy of mine down the street played the album Back in Black for me and by AC/DC, and it blew my mind. And then from there I started wanting to learn, rock guitar, so I learned how to play the whole album of Back in Black. And then I just ended up getting a whole bunch of other records by Black Sabbath and uh, Led Zeppelin and Judas Priest, and just kept going from there.
Oh, that
This is
so
this is a
I,
little kid too. This is like 12 or 13 years old.
yeah, well, I think, again, right? Like you're kind of following the trajectory. I think we're not too far off in age, so it was kind of the same thing for me, right? Like listen to a lot of country and then, move on into like AC/DC, which, AC/DC, what, 50 whatever years now they've been together and they have crafted the perfect like rock and roll song over and over and over, which is fantastic
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, some bands have tried and true tested formula they always roll with, and some are, pretty diverse and some in between. I can appreciate them all, but yeah, bands like AC/DC and Iron Maiden, and they kind of have a similar jam throughout.
for sure. I mean, it's, there's room in music for everyone.
Yeah,
If you want to write good rock and roll, you could do that. If you want to really challenge the listener with some of the heavier, more extreme things, that's obviously,
that's
yeah,
cool too. Yeah.
yeah. A lot of us are into all that crazy shit. So,
Yeah.
so what was I guess the catalyst for you, after so many years of doing Today Is the Day, like to go, oh, I'm gonna do an outlaw country album.
I had a couple of books of my father's that was in this leather satchel that was really old. And I'd owned them. I had had them a long time. I during COVID I got them out and was reading through the lyrics in them. and was thinking about his life in like the 1940s and 1950s, which then led me to thinking about country music in general. And, even in his own songs that I was reading, it seemed like the the writing was like, from the heart. It was music that you could connect to and whatnot, because it was on a more primitive and simpler life into things. And so then I started thinking about how, like, a person could take the ideas of the past, like simpler song structures, powerful lyrics, and these different things, and maybe take that original idea of traditional country music and do something new with it, because it wouldn't have to be stuck just only in the beginnings of what was country music that came out of bluegrass. Because later on, there's a lot of cool stuff in the 1970s, like with Leonard Skinner and the Allman Brothers Band, and it's like Southern rock stuff,
Yeah.
And I think that there's some elements of that kind of stuff that's pretty cool too, in the psychedelic end of things, like bands like the Outlaws with Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, Tom Paul Glazer, and Jesse Coulter. So I kind of try to take a philosophy idea of those things from the past and then channel it through how I would, do it, right now in this day and age. And a lot of the things that I cared about doing was keeping a lot of things truer, even though it may be a new way, a new sound within that old sound. Still, I wanted to keep the old sound like really, really true.
Yeah. Well, I think you did a really good job with that, right? Fiddle and the lap steel and all of that. Like it that's one of the things that really drew me to like old, the old country is like you bring in especially a lap steel because it adds a really nice like atmosphere to the song that a traditional guitar just can't find, you know?
Yeah, I think they're one of the most graceful and like elegant, like sounding like instruments. It's really a trip when you're recording one and being like right next to it, because hearing it, because the infinite sustains and everything that go on with it, and then the using the pedals and dipping the pitches and all that stuff. I love pedal steel, and I gotta say, as a treat of watching one be used, jamming with Dana was wild, because you can just tell, number one, that he's been doing it his whole life. So it's just like speaking or talking for him to just start automatically sounding like amazing when he starts playing. But it's the way you do it, and then it's the instrument and all that, man. When it all comes together, I feel like back in the day that, the pedal steel was sort of like the strings or like the keyboards the
Yeah.
to the acoustic electric music and whatnot.
Yeah, for lack of a better term, it's kind of, it's the hillbilly orchestra, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's the strings kind of is the place that it fills in a
Yeah.
way. And but it's like the other thing that I love about this music is, obviously because I play guitar, the guitars, and old Martin acoustic guitars just sound to me the most, the truest and old time country that you can get. And luckily over time, I don't have a whole lot of them, but I have a few of them. And the ones I used on the album were perfect for this project, because they've got a really, really old time sound to them and whatnot. And yeah, so no, it just all together. The main thing about the instrumentation of the band that I wanted to do was to sort of it'd be a little bit of a hybridized of a 1940s 50s lineup with like a 1970s, and in that sense, you know, back in the 40s and 50s they had upright bass going on, and I tried that. I did some recordings, um but I ended up feeling that for the type of sound I wanted, especially like with songs like Henry and stuff where the bass is like this foundation that's real wide and big and whatnot and sustains. You just couldn't really get that kind of sustain with the upright bass. And in the 70s, like bands again, like Waylon and Willie and them, they all had like electric bass. And
Yep.
and so I figured, you know what, I think that'd be the best way to go with that. And then obviously the drums, acoustic drums. But so that you got the acoustic drums and the bass of say like the 70s philosophy going on with the two Martin acoustic guitars and the pedal steel and fiddle of like bluegrass and whatnot like that. And I think in the end it ends up making for a rockin' sound of like that kind of thing from
Oh
back then.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it.
Like, like the title track, Mark Cards and Loaded Dice. Um, it's to me that is that's the song that everyone is singing in the bar. You're drunk and just singing along with it. And I said something. It was Thursday or Friday night. We did the
Oh,
listening
right
party.
about. I think that one was The Rain Keeps Coming Down.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, you're right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But
Oh
they
man.
both though, because the one that you mentioned, that one has that's the one that has that break in the middle, and it comes back in with just the acoustic guitar doing
Yeah.
the big rock like uh piece before it like comes back rocking in or whatever. And it's one of those things where I think that, music doesn't have to be like all like crazy computerized and, all this madness to like reach people. If anything, the most important thing for me is like what you said is to like rock people. If people are at the bar and it's late at night, this comes on, it hits them in the heart and makes them want to sing out loud and sing it. I think that's awesome, because
Yeah.
you go through your day every day and there's so many meaningless moments, busting open a pack of hot dogs or like, you
Well,
know,
and even aside from meaningless, right? Like I think like life can be so fucking stressful for all of us
yeah.
that you know when we get to do something like go to a show or just hang out with our friends having a beer if that's your thing, right? When a song comes on and you can get everyone singing, there's a connection there that we as humans need, and I think we're missing it in this digital age that we're in.
Yeah, I agree, man. I absolutely agree. And that's why I think songwriting is a really important thing. It's like if you're able to express yourself with what you're feeling in a way that it can also reach other people and make them feel it too, it kind of, I think it makes weathering the storm a little bit better when you connect with other people and
You
they
don't
can
feel so
understand.
alone, you
Yeah,
know?
because it's like these times are, it's almost like we're going through some kind of weird, the depression televised, like, or
Yeah.
meaning the internet. Like, if you televised it, and it was on the internet all the time and it was on TV where it became normal, like that's what we're like living
Yeah.
in. And I feel like that where everybody's chasing the dollar about everything, I feel like just a lot of things that get lost where it's stuff that people are just trying to like put together and record of the moment of like right now and be able to feel it with other people, you know?
Yeah, I mean it's like my two favorite things in the world are music and food. And to me, those are the two things that I am most likely to connect with other people on, right?
Yeah.
You get together, I mean,
Yeah, food's another great experience. Like it
yeah,
definitely is, and it can bring people together. And I think these days more than ever, anything that can bring people together would be a good thing, you know?
like yeah, we have so many things that are dividing us. It's like, let's get rid of this thing. At the end of the day, one, we're human. We all have feelings. So let's, we
Yeah.
build from that. If we can break bread or we can share a live experience, like we're friends. I don't give a
Yeah,
shit.
and, you know, even Mark Cards is kind of like this thing of like, you know, you got to live throughout whatever you're going through, you know what I mean? And you got to enjoy yourself and do stuff, you know? And I feel like that with the way everything is, especially with the digital age and everything, like, and the stress levels are so high and expectations are so high from people to one another and every other thing, you know, I feel like that we kind of confine ourselves a lot in what we maybe we really want to do, but we don't do it because we don't want to, you know, stick out or whatever else. And like, you
Afraid of
know,
some judgment that might be passed on us or whatever, you know?
yeah. And so like with Mark Cards and Loaded Dice, you know, I wanted to, you know, I figured, hey man, like, you know, I want to do something and you know, I'm not like a one-dimensional human, you know what I mean? I watch ultra gore and horror movies and scary movies, and then I also watch like funny fucking movies or whatever, you know what I mean? Meaning like
Yeah.
I uh I like fine art music like Miles Davis Bitches Brew. But then I also like, you know, like just crazy hard rock or whatever else, you know what I mean? If it's just good music, I don't really care where it comes from, you know what I mean? And so it's like it's one of those things where this was a real in a really dark time during COVID, which kind of took away all your freedom. This was my way of having freedom and writing about it, you know, because you can't imprison the mind. You can be free within your own head and explore different things and do different things. And so I took up a lot of that time, like writing and jotting down all these different thoughts and whatnot. And a lot of them, I don't know. I feel like that they really, in the end, painted the picture that I wanted to paint, you know?
Yeah. I think you did a great job with it. So it's like, do you find yourself journaling a lot, or are you just writing down like notes and ideas?
I do the journaling thing a lot of writing down in a book. Like I'll have a book that I keep for a certain period of time. And then when I start thinking of things, I'll write them in there and whatnot. Those will be different things that not necessarily word for word I take from, but more like the ideas that are going on within them. Sometimes the words though too. And you know, so it's funny because like the best way for me, especially with country music, to write songs is to go ahead and pretty much do it from beginning to end, like write the music of it and then right after, you know, get started on doing those lyrics. And it's funny because really killer songs, if I feel like if everything's coming together and everything's a flow, you'd be surprised how quickly even a somewhat intricate country music song can come together from A to B and like in an hour, like be like, wow, holy shit, like here's the whole musical deal, here's all the words, you know. Sometimes it's not like that, and sometimes I might end up getting hung on like one line or something like that for like 3 hours, and I hate those times because I just want to get it right for the exact right line in the right exact right place of the song.
Yeah.
Um, but in general, um, I just enjoy jamming, and then I'll sit down and start jamming, and then boom, um, it starts flowing with me, and then I put it together, and then I'll do the words, record it, and then now I got a demo of it.
Wow. So, like, do you find yourself going back like to some of those like old notebooks for ideas for now?
No, because I feel like each one of them covers a certain period of life that I was in, and usually I use them quite a bit. Like when I'm getting ready to do something, I'll take from them. I'll also like keep text files on my laptop where if I don't have that thing with me, I write the stuff down in text files. And then that way, whenever a piece comes up and that's what I'm working on, if I want to look at different ideas that I had that I might think would be cool for different parts or whatever. I can draw from them. But by the time I end up doing that and time has went on, I feel like it's time to start another one, and then keep going. But no, I've kind of always done that, just especially too with titles and things like that, because titles they hit you, and you can't not acknowledge when a good one hits you because you may not remember it. So I
Yeah.
try to go out of my way to write it down.
Yeah, when that inspiration is there, you've got to try and capture it in some way, you know?
It sucks that life and humans are created this way, but like I gotta admit, I have like really powerful things happen to me, like some bad, really bad fucking thing that like I wish in no ways could have happened to me at that moment. And I'll turn to music and then start jamming. And I find a lot of things. One that 9 times out of 10, the whole thing will roll out stream of thought and then write it down. The other one is that the power and the iron in the words seems to be even more real and more intense because of capturing it in the moment of like you are feeling like this, and then now you're musically through a guitar and through singing, you are writing it down like right now while you're in the middle of that right this minute. And it's not to say that you couldn't cop that at a later time, but I know with me I look back on different songs that I've written before, like that one that you mentioned that could be an anthem at nighttime a few days ago when that
Yeah.
band camp party was going on. The rain keeps coming down. I remember that was at Christmas time, and it was probably around December 14th or something like that, about 10 days before Christmas. And it had already been about, I think this was December 2021. So we'd already been dealing this COVID thing for a real long time, for like a year and like 9 months or whatever. And and so right about then my cousin died out of nowhere. And he was like the same age as me. And his name's Austin, you know what I mean? Like his this is my Austin family.
Yeah.
And so, as if that wasn't enough to freak you out of out of nowhere, like my bro dying, then 3 days later, um, my aunt, his mother, died. Like, probably partly of a broken heart because of him dying, and her husband, my uncle, had died a while back. But the point is, the two of them died within 3 days. And the aunt, I had sent a bunch of roses for my cousin's funeral, and I guess my family told me that at her side table during the 3 days that she was alive after, out of all the flowers, she had put my flowers in a vase next to her where she sits in her chair. And so they called me and told me that the second one had passed away. And oh my God, it was literally like, I think at that point it was 2 days before Christmas. And I'm thinking, like, I can't believe that these dudes are down there and this is like going on like right now, and almost in a way of right now, like that they'll always remember, like every time it gets to Christmas, right then, just so many bad things. And um I was tore up out of my mind on the couch, and I got my guitar out and I started thinking about them, and I was thinking about where they live in Appalachia and Chestnut Mountain, Tennessee. And so I just, wanted to write a song for them, and I ended up making the song called The Rain Keeps Coming Down. And that was because this shit had been going on for 9 or year and 9 months with COVID, no touring, no recording, no hard to do anything. Everybody's business closed, people, losing their loved ones, it's a nightmare. And then hitting home, it wasn't even COVID related. My cousin Dale died of cancer, followed by his mother, who was very old, but still like unexpected, and it just seemed like, God damn, like this shit just keeps pouring on your head like over and over and over again. It's never gonna fucking end. And it's hard to have faith in anything because you've been having faith in everything for like a really fucking long time, but nothing changes, and then everything keeps staying the fucking same, you know? And so that's kind of like that point is like a person who's pushed to the point to where it's really hard for them to believe that everything's going to be all right or anything's going to be cool anymore, because it just bad thing after bad thing just keeps happening.
Yeah, like, and that's, those times are so tough, but when I think when you're able to create with that, like especially at those times, you capture those feelings that you're dealing with. Whereas if you waited a year or 2 years and go, okay, I want to think through it and try and capture that, it it it's not gonna,
It
it's not
wouldn't
the
have been
same.
no, it wouldn't have been the same, man. I mean, I literally, the pain that I was feeling and the tears welling up in my eyes of like sitting there trying to like figure this shit out, it was just insane. And like in the end, like now that the song is done and everything, um, I get it. Like it's like when I hear it of like, yep, that was a wild time. That was a really dark time, and but thankfully, it's like there's other, like it's like what I was saying earlier about weathering through things. Life can be like a really beautiful thing. And there's a lot of cool moments from my childhood of things that I got to do, like, with horses and the farm and running through the hills and creeks and all that kind of shit, and fishing and hunting. And all the way through my adult life, I've pretty much done the same stuff, I guess, like in a lot of ways. But it's like, I got my family and whatnot, and they're cool to me. And I feel like we have a pretty great thing out here in the woods. And so it's like it's funny, the album has this balance to it where there's these real dark spots in it of like, oh shit, man. But then there's other parts where it's almost like a celebration of life and freedom and shit like that, I guess you could say, or somebody who's feeling that
Well, it's
life. And
like walking through a storm, and then the clouds parting and the sun just shining down. You,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
I
like
agree, man. It is like a full journey in that way, and I like the stuff that is on a brighter end of things, a beautiful end of things and stuff like that on the record because it gives a person a true album experience of like dynamics of going up and down and all that, and so no, I couldn't be happier, man. It was a long work about getting it right. And then even once it was pretty much near done, it's like I just wanted to wait for the right moment to be able to put the thing out and feel like once I let it go, like, okay, yeah, this is the best that I can do for now. I put everything into it to try to make it be all that it can be. And obviously, you can always feel like everything can be better, no matter if you care a lot about perfection,
hindsight's 2020. You can always look back and go, man, I should have did this or I could have did that better. But I think that's part of like the life experience, right? Is doing something and going, oh, I can do that differently and it'll make this that much better. I mean, look at
Yeah. And
any artist.
you have to kind of balance it too with like accepting who you are too, you know what I mean, with perfectionism because we
Yeah,
all want to make like perfect things, like if you're going to do something like I'm going to make a pizza. Well, I want to make a half-ass pizza. No, I want to make a perfect pizza where it tastes great, you know.
yeah,
But we are humans and whatnot, you know what I mean? And so achieving perfection is relative sort of in a way to being a human being and it's tough because you got to accept who you are and this is you, because everything's just a snapshot in life, it's like just like looking at old pictures of yourself or something like that, and you're like, wow, is that even me or something? You know what I mean? It's like, well,
yeah.
that was just you at that minute, like right then, Um, so yeah, no, it's cool. I just, I feel like everything's just always changing and whatnot, and I think if a person, especially within like country music, I don't think it's hard for subject matter to come up with because if you live a country life and you live out in the woods, I mean, your whole day of every single thing that you do is like that kind of stuff, like meaning things that revolve around a natural life of like living out in the country in the woods. And,
Yeah.
one minute I'm like yesterday, I spent half a day driving myself out of my mind trying to get this. It's called a radius arm bushing, but it's sort of like it has dual tracking arms on the left and right hand sides of the van we tour in. And I had gotten the bushing out, which was insane, taking it to levels, having to use an air hammer to knock it out. And then getting it back in, the new one proved to be a 4 or 5 hour experience of different madness and going and getting different tools. I had a ball joint tool. I had a homemade threaded rod, like uh, you know what I mean, press. It's like you
Yeah.
make your own press. And finally a good buddy of mine came by and like we grinded away a little bit of the uh where the where the thing pushes in. And then we were able to finally get this damn thing in there. But like, if it's not that, it's processed like a couple days ago where our firewood was running low. We burned fires up here in Maine until like early June. And so I had to get more wood. And a friend of mine had a couple of big ass oak trees that were as big as your arms around that were already cut down on the ground. And And I processed, I cut all that up into 20-inch rounds and then processed all that and stacked it like a cord and a half or something like that in like one day. So the whole fucking day was taken up doing that madness. You know what I mean? So, yeah, so writing country songs is easy, I think.
Yeah, you have all the experience right there.
I get to do it every day.
Yeah, yeah. What do you find most challenging about being in Maine?
Well, I'd say the most challenging is you get used to it, but there's no immediacy of getting anything that you need. Like if you need something, it's going to take a minute to get it because you're not going to be able to go into a store most likely and just buy one off the shelf of whatever it is. And that goes for auto parts and just any just about anything in general. We have to order it online and we have to wait. So we constantly have this 3 to 5 day window of say if something comes up on Monday, you can't do anything about it till, you know, Wednesday or Friday at the earliest, and it's cold almost all the time. We get like 3 months, which would be from the middle of June, probably around like June 14th or so. It's in the 70s, and then it'll stay 70s to as high as 85 or 90 in late August. But the majority of it is in comfortable like 75, sometimes 80, but 75 kind of jam is the majority of summertime. And then you get this little bit of hot stuff like 80 to 90, and then it goes away. Like, and I mean really
And
soon.
it's quickly too, right?
Yeah, it's like it lasts June 14th to July 4th, August, September. About by the time it hits like Labor Day, like around like the early September right there, that's when everybody's putting all the stuff away. Like putting your camp stuff away, your dock, your floating raft, or whatever it is that you do during summertime. People start putting that stuff away at that time because it starts getting cold. And it's not terribly bad, but you're talking like September's like 50s and 60s, and then you're off to the races with October. It starts going down, and it'd be like near freezing and shit. And once it finally really gets into the full swing of things, it's 0, 5 degrees, 3 degrees, sometimes -10, something like that. Um, but you just got to be prepared for it. Like we burn like 6 cords of wood a year, and so during the spring and summer, I get that shit together, and it's pretty cool, especially these days with oil costs and stuff like that. It's a much more
Efficient way.
economical way to heat
Yeah.
your home, because even if you had to buy 6 cords of wood these days, that's about $1,800. So you could heat your whole home for a year for $1,800.
Hmm.
Some people here, for instance, that have to heat with oil spend like 5 to 600 a month
A month.
in
Yeah.
oil to heat because now granted they don't have to do anything. They just walk to a thermostat and turn it, and the house gets warm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean that's, you think about it in the scheme of things, 1,800 versus like $6,000. Like that's a
That's a big difference. Yeah, it's a really big difference. And then if I do it myself, then we're talking between gas, couple chainsaw chains, just little stuff that goes along with doing it, maybe $500,
huh,
with the
yeah,
wood free, you know what I
yeah,
mean? So because I've got land, so I can get the wood.
yeah.
So that's part of that's kind of our whole gig here. I mean, it's like it costs us like if I do the wood, it costs us like 500 a year to live here on the heating end of things. If I don't, say like 1,800. Um, the state is weird though. It's like it's sort of like the Florida of the North for people from New England.
Okay.
Like
I
meaning that when they want to get a little wild and they want to get out of town and
They
they
go to
want to go
Maine.
out, they go to Maine because Maine's got legalized weed. Um, the its laws in some ways are sort of more lax about different things. But there's a lot of like ocean side and camps and lakes. There's a million of them up here. And
Yeah.
so the state relies on tourism hugely about every year, and I want to say like the road I live over here next to like a horse farm and all this shit like here, but like the road that you come off of to get down this way, that's a main road that goes back and forth from Bangor to basically the Atlantic Ocean to all the way down to the bottom. And that road, I forget the number, but it's in the millions of cars that go up and down this road way up here in Maine in the middle of nowhere. But that road is traveled by millions of cars, and it's because people either come from Portland, Maine airport or Bangor, Maine airport, and they sort of the main tourist hotspot is this place called Bar Harbor that's on the Atlantic Ocean in Mount Desert Island. It's where Acadia National Park is, which is, if you saw the video for Crazy Dreams, the one that's got me in front of an ocean where there's like
Yeah.
huge waves crashing and all that stuff, that is down there in that area. Like that was a desolate part of the area where we were, and I forget the name of it, but it's like murder or something. Like, but people die there like all the time with those cliffs and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
That was crazy. I've done a lot of like dangerous shit in my life and whatnot. I probably have some fascination with it or whatever that gravitates me to doing dangerous things, which I'm not proud of or think it's smart. But I have done it a lot throughout my life, whether it be through four-wheel drive shit and climbing mountains and hunting bear or whatever it is, something that could get you killed or whatever. Being underneath vehicles up on lifts and whatnot. I don't know. But like, yeah, it's one of those things where, um, yeah, I kind of lost my jam there a minute.
Oh
What
yeah. You were talking about like murder, whatever,
Oh
people on the
yeah, yeah.
cliffs.
Where one minute so you're going to go do something and your mind is not on anything like that at all. Like it's like photography or videography,
Yeah.
right? And guitars and shooting a video and singing a song and happy shit, you know what I mean? And and so we go do this and it's me and Hank up there, my son, and he's got the camera and I'm he's picking the spots or whatever where to do it. And we both saw this spot that was on a corner of a cliff and it did not, to me, from things I'm used to doing, it did not look really that risky of going over there because I wouldn't have went over there and sit down if I did think it was.
Right.
Um, but it looked pretty cool to me. And so I went over there and got situated and sat down. And, he coming around, handing me stuff and whatnot. And man, he slicked up on that cliff right there, and I grabbed his coat. And boy, it was a trip about like shocking you all of a sudden, like because I knew that if I wouldn't have been there and he was out there filming around or whatever, for instance, he would have went like right off the end of that
Yeah.
thing, and it was a drop off of 20 to 30 feet down into some rocks and waves that were crashing in there. And I had to get my shit together after that. I didn't really say much to him other than I demanded that he stay way back and just use the zoom on the camera's lens to get in
Yeah.
closer if that's what he needed to do, you know. Because I didn't really feel threatened myself. I was sitting on this like it's like a ledge thing or whatever. And it's pretty solid, even, you know.
Well, and
Um,
I think another part of that might be like as parents, we're w- we feel like we're wiser and we're smarter. So it's like you stay away, I'll be fine. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, because I didn't want him just for a shot in a video, and I didn't even, he wanted to shoot it there, but it's like I didn't want to risk anything just for a shot in a video like that, but in the end, it's like the other ones we did, nothing went, off kilter or anything like that, of doing it, but yeah, it's funny how life can just slip up on you all of a sudden out of nowhere and give you a good scare like that.
Real quick. Like it doesn't take anything to do it. And shout out to Hank. I think Hank did a great job on the videos. Like,
Oh, thanks, man. I'm really proud of him. I think he did an amazing job, and it's awesome watching him work. He's got a great mind, and he knows what he wants, and he just works really hard to get it, you know.
yep, for sure. I know. Well, last time you guys were here, Hank and I sat. We actually sat together most of the night talking, and it cool. It was really cool. Like I had learned about him the last time or the time before that when you were here, but I feel like he and I really fucking connected the last time, and it was just like great conversation and a lot of insight for me talking to him. He's like filmmaking is like his that is like his thing.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, he's deep in it, and I'm just amazed at his drive. The dude does not give up. Like he will keep working on shit throughout the night, every night until he gets it to the way he wants it. And like all those videos that you see, I mean, I don't even know how many hours of whatever, because once we got that stuff shot, he would lock himself away and go to town editing and putting it together, and just weeks would go by, and then eventually be like, okay, so here's a starting point, or check this out. And it would blow my mind, but I could imagine it because we just didn't see him that much. Like he'd be up there working on it nonstop, night and day. um so yeah, no, I really appreciate it, everything that he does. And I appreciate anybody involved with this, of anything that I do and whatnot. It's like I'm just a dude that grew up in Lebanon, Tennessee, and loved music and had an idea and went with it and played and then kept going. And so I don't really expect the world to lend a helping hand or anything like that, or even pay attention to anything I do. And so it's just awesome because there's been so many cool people working with me and helping me, like Dave Brenner from Ear Split PR, and Chris X from Reptilian Records, that's also part of Supernova Records. Um, and then, Hank, his buddy Alex, like, they all like contributed in helping out with like make this thing come true. And I'm so psyched because this is just the beginning. There's more to come. We have new Rain Keeps Coming Down video coming in just a few weeks here. And then we got Am I Just Crazy that we're shooting with this guy who's amazing. His name's Zev Deans, and he's maybe one of the best video filmmakers today or whatever, in my opinion. I think he's super cutting edge, super cool dude. And so he's coming up here to Maine, and we're gonna work together and do a video for Am I Just Crazy in June.
Right on. So are you going to take this on the road?
We are. I'm hitting the road with Today is the Day actually, in just a couple weeks.
Yep.
Literally 2 weeks from now, I'll be rehearsing on this day to get ready to go. And then we leave to go down to Richmond, Virginia, and we're gonna play a show with Napalm Death at the Broadberry down there, this pretty cool club down there. And and then we're headed off to play shows with I Hate God and Pentagram over the next
Yeah.
like couple weeks. And and then, it's not a real long run. It's only about 2 weeks long. And then when we get through doing that, on the 31st, we head home and we fly out like just 2 days later to Poland. We're doing a pardon me. We're doing a festival called Mystic Festival. And it's pretty cool. The day we're playing is with Down and Electric Wizard and a bunch of really great bands. And I Hate God's playing that festival, Megadeth, Mastodon. So it's a pretty rocking festival. We're gonna be there for the whole festival and whatnot.
Right on.
Yeah, so this should be pretty cool. I'm really excited to go do this, and then when we get back home, uh just a couple days after that's when we're shooting that video with Zev, and then in the summer we're hitting the road with the country, and I'll be glad because I wish I was doing it now, but we had Today's the Day stuff planned right now, which I'm turbo excited about going to go do, but I also want to do the other thing too.
Yeah, it's that balance, you know.
Yeah, excited about both. I think this tour next month with Today is going to be out of control with the bands that we're playing with, and
100
the whole,
100%. Like I feel like by like Pentagram and I Hate God are like they're at like the biggest they've ever been.
yeah,
You, you know, and it's of course being an old head watching like a long time I Hate God fan, you know, like I love those dudes. So to see them where they're at right now is awesome. And
yeah.
it's also a little weird seeing all these young kids at their show. Like I'm like, cool, but holy shit, where did you
It
guys
gives it
come from?
hope for the underground. It is
Yeah,
probably one of the only signs I've seen that there's hope for the underground as far as original independent music of a hardcore metal nature, like
yeah,
um because that is cool. I noticed it as well because we've been playing shows with I Hate God off and on over the last while here, really throughout my career, but like especially in the time you're talking about, like of recent,
yeah.
and a lot of younger kids coming down there, and I'm glad because they represent to me the right idea, like meaning it's like it's no holds barred musical expression, all the dudes rocking out at one time. They don't give a fuck. They don't play the music for anybody but themselves. They
Yep.
really, it's like they're living through the music when they play it. And I think that all those attributes of what I just said, those are the important lessons to be learned from
Well,
going to
that's
from going to
that
go
that
see I Hate God.
I mean that's it, but it's not just I Hate God, right?
Right.
Today is the same thing. Like that's something that always draws me in is just being unapologetically, that, right? Like I love I Hate God for that reason. I love Today is the Day for that reason. I love, same thing with crowbar is crowbar, but there's, and I'm not just going to limit to those bands. There are a lot of bands out there that are doing it. But I love, just like you, I love seeing these younger kids coming to
Yeah.
the shows because it does, it gives us hope. Like, oh, it's not going to die with us.
Yeah, and it's showing them those things to take from and think about and whatnot, because for everybody with the younger ones coming up and whatnot, they're out there and they're going like, oh man, I'm so weird, nobody likes me. If I did start a band, nobody would like it because it probably wouldn't sound like this or it wouldn't sound like that. And I guess I won't start a band. I'll just be fucked forever. And then you go see I God play, say for instance, and you see that they're kind of like misfits and outcast, and they don't give a fuck, and they just play their jams, and they're not the most prettiest sounds, some pretty harsh, heavy sounds, and so it speaks to somebody like that and empowers them to go like, hey, you know what, man? I love this and these dudes are cool and they're just being themselves and like
Yep.
I want to be myself, I guess I should have the courage to be myself just like they do and whether anybody likes it or not, and that's the whole key right there of punk rock, like meaning like if you can be yourself and not let anybody change it. That there's your definition of punk rock.
Yeah,
Like,
100%. Like that is, I think that's the hardest or the most important thing that I've tried to stress to my kids. And I remember taking my daughter to her first like metal show. It was Max and Igor Cavalera doing the Return to Roots tour. And as we're walking up, she's like, people going to think I'm weird. I'm like, hey, I think the most important thing, kiddo, is we're all fucking weird. No one's going to care when you walk
yeah,
in here. Like, you'll be welcomed. And she was like, I don't know. And we walked in, and I shit you not 5 minutes. Mind you, she's like, God, when was that? She had to be like 10 or 11 at the time.
right.
As soon as we walked in, not 5 minutes, there one of the local openers like started signing CDs and fucking drumsticks and like you're the coolest kid ever and just giving her shit.
Nice, nice.
I'm like, this is what it's about, right? Like,
Yeah.
welcome to the rest of the land of the misfit toys, if you will.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's what rock and roll and the whole thing is about. You know what I mean? It's just a little, it's the defiance of not wanting to fit in. You just want to be you, you know what I mean? And like,
Yeah,
and then likewise, there's other people that are like that too. And so, you know, meaning you still can have friendships and a community and everything of people while not fitting in, like,
yeah,
that's the deal. And so I like to see that, and I like to see the kids come to our shows and stuff like that because I think when they come to see us play and whatnot, I know that for sure, at least when they're leaving, that I did my best to lay down the real deal. You know what I mean? And and
yeah.
and then they can take hopefully something from that and go like, okay, like, he meant it. You
Well, and
know?
I think they do every time. I think um there were quite a few young kids at the last couple of times I saw you guys, which is fucking awesome.
Yeah,
Seeing those young kids and then even listening to the conversations after you're done where they're just like, "Oh my God, that was fucking cool for this reason," or I really like that. I think that's my favorite thing about a live show
yeah,
is
no, it is, dude. I love playing live. I mean, I really, really do. And I know some people will say that and they're like, oh, yeah, but I truly do. I mean, if I could do it every single day of the year except for the times that I want that yeah, obviously I want to be with my family and whatnot. I would because I absolutely dig doing it. I feel like that when I'm playing, that's the most I can be me in a moment is when I'm fully playing and feeling it and giving it my all. I feel like that's the moment that you're the most alive and the most that you're being you fully that you can be and it makes me feel good because it kind of lets it all out, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. Like there's all the all those guards that you've got up through the rest of your life are just
Let
washed
down.
away.
Yeah, man, you know, because I don't know, music's just a beautiful thing and it can really save you and like all this music from Mark Cards, I feel like that's the greatest thing of coming out of it is just that I didn't feel like I was gonna fucking make it at times and then like next thing you know like the album's done and it shows up at my house and all this stuff as a test pressing and I'm like I can't believe that I'm finally here because you know, it's just insane of how some of the things that transpired from beginning to end of trying to get the damn thing done and not compromise anything about it. And so when it finally showed up on my doorstep and it was here, I was like, oh my God, what a relief. Like this is the greatest thing ever.
Hell yeah. Woo!
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, it was, dude. I was blown away. I had to stop in my tracks for a minute. And then the other moment like that was when the full copy, like the actual thing, with the front cover and all that stuff got here. When it got here and I took it out, looked at it and everything, you know, pulled all the stuff out, um, it just made it real. And it was a real triumph because, you know, a lot of people, like I said, I feel, including myself, you know, you want you live life and you know you want to do different things or whatever. I mean, I think we all a lot of times think about wanting to do different things, but whether it be because of time or because it's scary or whatever else, sometimes we don't do different things.
Right.
And you know, with me, I I th when I thought of what I wanted to do, you know, it's like I had nothing, and then bit by bit there was a little bit of something and then finally the whole thing was done and then finally that record showed up here with the cover and the whole thing and it made me really really psyched because it was just like you know all of it done by myself down through the label the financing the whole thing of getting it together and it was an uphill battle with uh the friggin what do you call it supplies the supply chain
Oh yeah.
issues and every other crazy thing back when all that was going on and even people being able to show up and whatnot you know because of what was going on and so now you know it's a great landmark of something that means a lot to me of like hell yeah like we made it you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like, it looked like there were a lot of people interested in the fucking album, which is super cool, especially, coming from the heavier side of music to see like, oh shit, he's doing an outlaw country album. Let me get that. Like, hell yeah.
Yeah, you know, I really appreciate that too because I can understand the general opinion about some of the modern day country stuff and whatnot is not really country music. So I guess it can't take the blame totally that much, but it is labeled and marketed as country
Yeah.
music.
But it's
And
pop.
but it's pop music, and I could see why if you're into real things and harder edged music, why you know, maybe it wouldn't be the first thing you'd think of to listen to because of that. but there is other people who have come along who are doing cool things now, like, and have been for a while. Like Billy Strings is awesome. Sierra Farrell is awesome.
Dude, Billy Strings, what a fucking talent that dude is.
He is the Jimi Hendrix of right now. Like, I mean, I really love Billy Strings' guitar playing and vocals, but he burns it up on the fretboard. He is really insanely gifted, talented.
Yeah.
But there's, there's things like that going on, and to see the fans that are into heavy stuff taking onto this, because everybody seemed to like, and I didn't expect that either. Like, meaning I figured, well, there's like some people who like this kind of thing, and then there's some people who don't. So, probably won't you hear a lot across the board, about it when we do it. But instead, everybody seems like they've been down with it and it coming. And I can only imagine the reason why would be that I think most people know that if I was going to do something like this, that I wouldn't just do it like in some carbon copy kind of way, that I'd probably do it in some kind of different kind of way
Well,
that would.
you're going to add your flair to it and it's going to be authentic, which is what, I mean, that's what people connect with is that authenticity. And it doesn't matter. I don't think it matters what style of music. Like to me, Billy Strings, I'm not a big bluegrass or country guy, right? Like I have my things, but Billy Strings is he's unapologetically himself and
Yeah.
and he's authentic in what he does. And it's the same with you. Whatever you do, you are unapologetically yourself. And you the music that you create is authentic, and that's where that's what people catch on to.
Oh, thank you, Tom. I really appreciate it, man. I mean, it's cool. I think from getting to know my fans and the people that care about the music and stuff like that, um, you know, I think I'm just pretty real all the time, and I think that they know that, and I think you can tell by just even looking at mark cards and the 7-inch single before. There's no names plastered all over the front of the thing trying to pitch you about like, hey, it's Steve Austin or whatever, you know what I mean? Like about
Yeah,
marketing or anything crazy like that, because that's not why I made this stuff. I made this stuff to hopefully make people feel something. And number two, hopefully maybe jog the musical history a little bit here by taking this kind of music and shining a light on it in a different kind of way in this modern day right now. And so
yeah,
those are the reasons why I made this stuff, and I think the fans, from knowing me, they can easily see that, and it's like, oh wow, like, this is a different journey. And I kind of look at it in a way, if you think about it like this, it's sort of like where I think of music as such a cinematic thing anyway. I sort of have been a non-titled video filmmaker my whole life, because I look at each one of these albums as like a movie, kind of like Temple of the Morning Star or In the Eyes of God or whatever, and
yeah,
and I think that Mark Cards and Loaded Dice, you could look at that as my Western movie, is like I'm bringing you back in time here to a a different sound and idea and feel that happened to hold some really powerful feelings, music back then,
yeah,
at a time when we're lost in digital insanity and AI and every other thing. It's like I think this is good, because this thing is not done to a click track. This is not lined up to a grid. This is like an old school recording where you just do it and you
By
punch
the feel.
yeah, and you punch in if you make a mistake and that's it. There's no
Yeah.
like copy pasting madness and all this shit and everything because I wanted it to be as real as say like a recording from a long time ago, you know.
Hell yeah. Well, it turned out really, really well. And Steve, I know that you have a whole lot of things going on. So
Oh,
I
no problem, man. I'll actually just be turning the air compressor back on because I'm cleaning the inside of my Mesa Boogie Mark III out right now.
got to get prepped, got to do the thing. I greatly appreciate your time. I'm really looking forward to seeing you again. I'm not sure I'm gonna try and make this next little run for today is the day, but I really want to see the fucking marked cards and loaded dice live.
Oh, dude, I want to come down and do a show for that with you and Reagan down there, and I can't wait. I'm thinking it's going to be we're getting a little later started getting the last of the booking stuff together here, but we're trying for like in August and whatnot, you know.
Yeah.
So, you'll be hearing from us real soon though about it, okay?
Awesome. That sounds great, man.
And
Well,
dude,
Steve,
thank you so much. You know, I always enjoy hanging out with you and just throwing down and just taking it easy, you know what I mean? So this was really nice today to get to catch up with you again, man.
for sure. Yeah, I appreciate your time. Every time we hang out and chat, I appreciate it more and more, and Hank, I love you, man.
I'll
Can't wait to
tell
see
him.
you again.
I
Yes.
will. Well, you're
Awesome.
an independent warrior, bro. I appreciate you very much, man.
Awesome. Have a great night, Steve.
Okay, you too, brother. Have a
Thanks.
great day, Bob.
Yep. See you, bro.